this week has seen the launch of a powerful new feature film telling the story of two mothers brought together by the tragedy of malaria. In the audience was the director of the campaign Malaria No More, James Whiting.
My reaction was the same as that of most of the rest of the audience, which was, I don't know if I should say, I'm ashamed to say, but I was in tears for most of the film. I don't know whether that's because I'm a father with two young children, or I think it would affect anybody, to be honest. But it's a very, very powerful and moving film. I think Richard Curtis knows how to either make people laugh or make them feel empathy.
And in terms of that empathy, what do you feel the theme coming out of the film is once the tears have dried?
Well, I thought that was one of the most fantastic things about the film, because the message is that we as individuals can do something incredibly powerful on two different levels, but two absolutely critical levels. So one is that it costs £1 to treat a child for malaria, and it costs £5 to protect a family with a net, which is just almost any one of us could support that. But on the other hand, what the film also shows is that if we are going to truly drive back malaria over the next few years, and there is a massive opportunity for that, then it requires governments to get behind it. And actually the British government has been at the forefront of the global malaria campaign, and if we can keep there, then it's extraordinary what we can achieve over the next few years.
But it's not, as I understand it, a simple road forward, is it? If we take the different aspects, in terms of prevention and insecticides and so on, malaria seem to be cunning. They're always getting a new form of resistance.
There's no underestimating what it's going to take to eventually eradicate malaria. But if you speak to some of the leading global scientists, they will tell you that it is within reach now. It is something that could be done within our lifetimes. But anybody that thinks that it's going to be simple, I don't think anybody does. But if they did, then they would be very mistaken, because it's a major campaign. But so much has been achieved over the last 10 years.
But just on the particular issues that you're facing, and everyone who's working in the field is facing, resistance is there, mosquitoes can fight back, insecticides cause other problems, vaccines are proving very tricky to do. This is not an easy road, is it?
It's not an easy road, and that's why it's so important that the British government, the Gates Foundation, the American government and others have put decent funding into research and development, because it is critical that we keep, even when we've got successful treatments, successful drugs, and vaccines that, although they're not 100% successful, could well be a critical part of the armoury. We have to keep on creating new ones, because we know that resistance is going to happen. It might sound like a strange analogy, but it's a bit like the Liverpool football team of the 80s, where they used to say that the best time to recruit and keep strengthening is when you've got a strong side. I think that's the same with the malaria campaign. You have to just keep doing the R&D to make sure that as resistance starts, and it's happening in the Mekong region in the Southeast Asia, that we have new insecticides, new drugs to treat, new vaccines. And what we do know is that there are a lot of these things in the pipeline, but it's a lot of hard work, and it does take funding.
You mentioned funding, and politics obviously comes into this in a big way in the film. It's when the two mothers come to the committee and show them the faces of the children that there's a breakthrough and suddenly funding is available. It seems perhaps rather easy. In the real world, I believe the requirement is for something like $5 billion to really get on top of this. How realistic politically do you think it is to raise that?
Well, I think it's going to be very tough, particularly in the current economic environment. But there is the UK government and the US government and others have really put themselves at the front of this campaign. We know that the UK government is going to have more money for international development over the coming year or two, and we hope that the UK will continue to position itself at the absolute front of the campaign. I mean, the UK has set itself an extraordinary target, really, of helping to halve deaths in 10 of the worst countries by 2015, which would be an amazing achievement. And in order to achieve that, they will need to put in really substantial funding over the next 2 years, but they are well on the way.
And then turning to Malaria No More, what are your particular aims?
Well, we have three things that we want to do. The first one is to fund really innovative programs in countries that can be scaled up to national level, but we put in relatively small amounts, but try and make sure that things that are going to really take forward the delivery of the malaria campaign can be replicated by others much bigger than us. The second thing is that we try to tell people about malaria over unusual channels, whether that's things like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here on ITV or Cartoon Network or MTV, or through our partnership with the clothing chain Jack Wills. We just try and get the word about malaria out there. And it's very exciting, actually, because the amount of people that think that malaria is a serious issue to be addressed has gone up from 52% to 72% in the last 3 years, which is absolutely wonderful. So we want to get that kind of public impetus behind it. And then finally, as a small organisation, we know that there's only so much that we can do. So what we try to do is encourage big companies, governments, to put in really, really substantial funding. So the final thing we try to do is to really work with the UK government particularly and encourage them to keep doing what they are doing, which is to really increase the funding that's going towards the malaria campaign. It's an incredibly cost-effective intervention. I think that's the thing that this government sees and the previous government saw, and it is one of the most effective ways to keep people alive and keep them fit and healthy, and to rebuild and give strong foundations for economies, particularly in Africa.
So just speaking personally in terms of your feelings, why do you care so much about this, and are you optimistic that it will succeed?
Well, I suppose I care because I spent about 10 years in various parts of Africa, in Sierra Leone, Sudan, Eritrea, Rwanda, after wars and disasters. And what I kept seeing time after time was children who had lost their siblings or indeed their parents to malaria. Even amidst genocides and wars, it was malaria that was actually killing more parents, more children. And I think that the most effective way to stop that is to get treatment, diagnostics and nets to people. And what I know viscerally is that just like my own children, those children have parents who love them, and I just cannot begin to imagine, and I'm sure others can't, what it would be like to lose your child, and to know that you're losing your child to something that could be treated for £1. It's just beyond belief.
So finally, James, as people watch the film, I think in the UK that'll be this Friday, tonight. Rest of the world, I think it'll be later. But as people watch the film, what would you like them to do in response?
I would like them to go to our website, which is www.malarianomore.org.uk, and to frankly either donate to us or to take on something called Live Below the Line, which is living for 5 days on £1 a day, which would be a fantastic challenge for people to take, and they can raise money for us. But equally, we'll also have a letter that people can send to their local MP asking them to encourage the government to remain at the forefront of the global malaria campaign. So I would just ask them, we're a very small organisation, and we just need all the support that we can get. Our only focus is on ending malaria deaths.
So the fight goes on.
The fight goes on, and we're going to win it, and we are winning it. The deaths are down by 1/3 in the last 10 years. We can get them down from about 650,000 to less than 100,000 in the next few years if we keep this up. And just to think what that means for so many parents, I hope people will feel that that's something worth getting behind.